Okay, welcome everyone to our last general body meeting of the school year, which is kind of hard to believe. It'll be a LinkedIn workshop with our guest speaker, Susan Kelley. So before we get into Susan's presentation, I have a couple announcements. Then I'll introduce Susan with her bio, and then we'll get into things. So two upcoming events later tonight. Um, the ATD Florida Suncoast Chapter TechCom SIG, which are the folks behind Sunshine State Scriveners, are having a conversation with TechCom hiring experts. So when our meeting ends at around 7, you'll be able to join them, and their presentation will start at 7. So you can have a night of TechCom professional learning. You do have to RSVP to get the Zoom link, but I will send the link in the chat so you can sign up for that. And then the second upcoming event is our last event of the school year, which will be a study social next Tuesday on the University Study Day. That'll be at the Foxtail Coffee at University Boulevard at 4 p.m. I cannot believe that we're already at the end of the school year and these last two events, but I am sure with these last few events, we'll end things on a very positive note, and then we'll be back in the fall. Another announcement, if you have noticed, we've been featuring different May 2025 graduates from FTC in the February and March newsletter. And we would like to continue that for the next newsletter. So if you are graduating this May, please contact Priscilla Allen. There's her email and Discord. I'll also put that in the chat right now, actually. And that also has the RSVP for tonight if you're interested in that TechCom hiring expert presentation later. Priscilla, if you contact her, we'll give you the details, but we're just looking for a short paragraph and photos so we can feature you and your accomplishments, what you're looking forward to in the future, that type of thing. So yeah, please reach out to her if you're interested. So moving along, before I turn it over to Susan, I'll introduce her. So she's a senior content strategist with Metadata, which is a clinical trials data analytics company based in New York City. She holds an MA in literature from Duquesne University. I don't know.
Duquesne.
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 Okay.
French. It's very French. Yeah.
Yes, that is less difficult than I was trying to make it. And an MA in rhetoric from Carnegie Mellon. She also taught human computer interaction there. She is a member of the Healthcare Business Women's Association, as well as a former member of STC. She is the communications lead for the Metadata Women in AI Business Research Group, and above all of that, an avid triathlete, hiker, and traveler. So I'll turn it over to you, Susan. I'll stop sharing my presentation so you can share yours. And let me make sure you have permissions.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, looks like I have the share button there, so we should be all good. I'm looking this way because my presentation is over there, so forgive the lack of eye contact there, but I can see all of you just fine. So I'll kind of add on to that. Yep, super happy to be here, and I'm gonna take just a moment to kind of allow a little check-in with all of you. I know there's some really unsettling news out of Florida today. So everybody just kind of do a wellness check there, right? And check in with all of your friends. I'm glad to know that all of you are safe and well. And yeah, just do a pulse check with everybody, right? It's good to know that you are all doing really well. My partner immediately sort of texted me from work and he was like, wait. Which university in Florida are you speaking to tonight? And I was like, my kids are all good. So not that your kids, you're grown-ups, but your kids, right? So glad to know you are all safe and well, and just know that my heart is with you. My daughter is over at the University of Miami in grad school there. So I think everybody took a little collective deep breath today. And I'm glad to know that you are all safe and well, but know that people all over are kind of giving a collective sigh for all of you. So wanted to just start off with that, right? But secondary to that, that's not the purpose of why we're here. Just wanted to kind of breathe that into the room. I am very happy to be here. And Chantal, you don't have to worry about not pronouncing Duquesne right. I already noticed that Jonathan Williams said, yeah, everybody says Duquesne. That's kind of a joke, but it's definitely Duquesne. So we will get started with creating your best LinkedIn profile. And at the very end of it, there is a QR code to link up with me on LinkedIn, and I hope you all do. I meant to put in the little video bubble, but I legit created these slides today, so I apologize for my lack of preparedness. But my LinkedIn, however, is very well curated and well prepared. So follow along with me on this little journey. I hope that all of you, especially those of you who are graduating this spring, congratulations to all of you. Big high five there. But even for those of you who are getting ready in a year or so, and those of you who are on your journey, curating a strong LinkedIn page is pretty important, especially for those of you, I think all of you who are in tech writing. And I'm going to walk you through my LinkedIn page, which especially those of you who I already know, like Chantal and John, I am no stranger to LinkedIn. I really make the most of it, and I think it's an important tool. You can see already that I don't hesitate to call myself a top-notch strategist, and B, an unapologetic self-promoter. So there we go. Let me advance here. I apparently can't advance my own slide, but I should. There we go. All right. So you'll see, first of all, that I have all my little pens here. That's because I went into edit mode to start to do this, but pay no attention to my little pens. This was in editing. So this, for all of you who already have one, you'll see the basics here. This is my company logo. You don't have to have a company logo, but do not leave it blank. Make sure that there's something, cool and professional up here. It can be anything you want, but, probably don't have it be, your college party. But don't leave it blank. Don't have it be the standard issue. For quite a long time before I joined Medidata, this was just a picture of the Coliseum, because I had visited the Coliseum a few summers back, and I thought it was just kind of nice and neutral and stretched. Do make sure that you take the time to fill in everything. This is all back end stuff, right? What language is my profile in, not what language do I speak? And this is, you can tweak your profile. I do want to point out, I still use free LinkedIn. Some folks will tell you that you have to use the paid edition. I think that's BS. I've never used the paid edition, not a day in my life, and it hasn't done me any harm. You can see that I have close to 1,500 followers here, and I think I have, it will always max out at 500 plus connections, because I think I'm actually close to 2,000 connections, but it doesn't brag about the connections there. So this is in the editing mode. You don't have to put in the company that you work for. These are optional things, right? And interestingly enough, Carnegie Mellon is not the last university I went to. I got my MA from Carnegie Mellon first and my MA from Duquesne second, but Carnegie Mellon is arguably the more impressive university. So I keep that on top. Because the story there was that I went to Duquesne to pursue a PhD in literature and then to go teach. And when I was in their PhD in literature program, the university grad students at the time were embroiled in a unionizing effort. The university decided wholeheartedly to choke down the effort for grad students to unionize, and I'm a very strong liberal union supporter. And at the time, I just decided that maybe I didn't really want the Duquesne brand as a PhD. And I also sort of had a come to Jesus moment where I decided I didn't want a PhD. I just wanted a second MA. And I opted out of education and higher ed entirely and went into the line of work I have now. So all of that is to say, if you have sort of one university or one credential that's more impressive and you'd like to foreground that, you totally can. And I recommend that you do so. Okay. So you can put in here, of course, open to work or open to contract or whatever. These are all the things that you can change. And then again, because this is the back end, you can look at your analytics, and these are all things that you can just sort of see. You can look at what other people have viewed and that sort of thing. Okay, so then we get into the beef of things, right? In your about section, this takes some work, and I really recommend that you collaborate with someone else. Run this past some of your friends, some of your peers, because it's hard to brag about yourself, but it's really important. And here's where you get to kind of give a preview. And if you think for a moment that employers aren't going to go take a look at your LinkedIn page, you're deluding yourself. It's one of the first things they're going to do. Every resume should have your LinkedIn on it. It should be a live link whenever possible. We don't do paper resumes anymore. You're all tech writers, you know this, right? So you can go in and change it as often as you want. And guys, if you have any questions and things, go ahead and pop them in the chat, or, Chantal, you can help me out. So anybody can stop me at any of these blocks and ask a specific question, or you can ask them at the end. But get someone to edit this with you kind of on the regular. I look at mine about every 6 months or so that it doesn't get stale, because there are new things that I do. And I always start out with something like, I'm an experienced this, or I am a talented or skilled this. What is it that I want people to know about me right now, where I am at this position in my career? Because if a recruiter happens to come along with this, or if a company is looking for something, what might they be looking for? Because I'm happy in my job right now, but if somebody wanted to offer me another 50 grand to do something really cool, what is it that I would want them to come to me for, right? I would want them to come and ask me, hey, do you want to write? That's the thing I like most. Editing, I like second most. Communication planning and documentation design, those are numbers 3 and 4. But I really like generative AI and prompt engineering, right? So I want to put all of those in my first sentence. If they want to come to me with more money for a cooler company, they're going to have to look at that first sentence. I would not be interested in, the romantic literature of the 18th century. Nobody's going to come and say like, oh, hey, Susan, how about this? It's not even close, right? No, I am not a poet. That's not my jam. I don't write haikus. So nobody's going to mistake me for that lady. And then I go ahead and say, I thrive when working with and leading teams. Okay. I go ahead and say, I'm not really a people manager. That's not where I like to put my energy, but I do like to work with teams. What does that say to you right out of the gate? If that sentence is, I thrive when working with and leading teams, I don't really like to be a solo player. Nobody would read that sentence and be like, oh yeah, Susan likes to be left alone to work by herself. Nobody's going to mistake that for like, I am a solo person, right? So I try to make that clear. I like working with and leading teams. I'm not by myself, even though, as it turns out, I work by myself at home, but I'm constantly on Zoom calls. And anybody who knows me knows that I thrive when I am collaborating, right? And then I double down on it. I am an engaging and enthusiastic speaker for business and education groups. Oh, they're like, okay, yeah, this lady, we could probably put her out in front of people. Good. Even though she's a tech writer, she's willing to get out there in front. And the rest of it goes on to really double down on what it is that I do. And then it says, I use power language as a woman in tech. Well, that's kind of interesting. That leads them into a question. I have vetted this and edited this past so many other people in my office, in my social circle, because nobody wants to read 3 paragraphs. It is, if you look closely, 3 sentences. That's it. I could tell somebody this in an elevator speech. It took me longer to explain it to you than it did to just read it, right? And then, as you can see again, my top skills are 4. That's it. And it's funny because I just now looked at this and realized I forgot to capitalize public speaking. So I need to go back into this tonight and clean that up because public speaking is not capitalized. So again, you have to refine and refine and refine because you're always going to find something that you need to improve. And I didn't catch it even when I copied this for the slide. I didn't catch it until I went to go through it right now. I highly recommend you do not put in more than 3 or maybe 4 top skills, because otherwise, how are they the top? Right? You don't have 8 top skills. You don't have 6 or 10. You have 3, maybe 4. Yeah. You want an employer or anybody looking at this to be like, okay, what are you really good at? And as you can see, I went ahead and put in my top 3 are all about speaking, because what I want in roles for somebody who is speaking, I already have a role as a tech writer. I don't have to convince anybody anymore that I'm a good tech writer. If somebody is looking to hire me, I want them to know that I want speaking engagements. I want to do what I'm doing tonight with you, but I want to get paid for it. Okay, so moving on to the next one. And I'm going down, if you're looking maybe parallel, if you want to pull up another window on your laptop, I'm going down through a LinkedIn page panel by panel by panel. So the next thing is in your activity, right? This is what will show up on your page, your posts, right? And I'll dig in a little deeper to some of the posts. On my activity section, I tend to have a pretty good balance of what I will repost from my company. This is on the right-hand side. Anthony Costello is the CEO of my company. And I reposted something really engaging and significant, a maneuver that we had in our company. We acquired another smaller company that's relevant to the daily work that I do. And it shows that I'm tuned in, keyed into what is valuable to my company. On the left side, that is key to what I do, my professional development, and what makes me a significant contributor to the field at large. I am working on a book called Talk Like a Girl. It's about persuasive speech. It's about low power language, but it also fits in to the broader technical communication. So maybe every other post, I lean a little bit more toward the things that have to do with clinical trials, data analytics, the company that I work for, not just my company, but things in the field. And then maybe every third or fourth has something to do with my own professional goals, my own personal. I never post anything political, personal, religious, not on LinkedIn. I save that for Blue Sky, for Facebook, for Instagram, for those sorts of things. But LinkedIn, the only exception that I make is this. Currently in the clinical trials field, there are, of course, the current administration is making some decisions that impact heavily the field of clinical trials, National Institutes of Health, FDA, that sort of thing. And I sort of carefully curate what I'm doing when it comes to making those decisions and those reposts, because of course we're trying to keep an eye on how that impacts the field. So if you are in an industry where there are political headwinds that might impact that, or decisions, local or federal or whatever, then I think you could dip a toe into that, right? And be like, oh, this for good or for bad, right? Like, hey, yay, NASA just landed a lunar lander, and you work in the air and space field. By all means, post that. That's great, But I would say very much limit any other personal material on LinkedIn, because remember, again, an employer or a potential employer or recruiter is going to go here almost immediately. So next, my experience, I am always sure to match my my skills here. Writing, long-term vision, I match skills up. Every skill that I could possibly have, that I've acquired, that I've used, I go in and edit these. You can see, as a senior documentation specialist, this was a cybersecurity company. I had 7 skills there, 9 skills here. Each subsequent position, I gain more relevant skills. And LinkedIn has a pre-filled field that you can just go in and drop down and click the skills that you are acquiring. So again, I recommend that every 4-6 months, you guys are all young, so maybe even every 3 months, go in and go, oh, I learned a new thing. And it's everything from PowerPoint to Word to Excel, or any little product or project that they have you do, go in and be like, is that a LinkedIn skill that you could add? Because the longer you exist on the earth, the more of these valuable skills you're going to gain. And every recruiter now, every resume formatting company will just go in and sort of use their algorithm to file through there and be like, do your skills that you have on your resume or your LinkedIn, do they match up with the program that we're running, sifting through? And our AI matching system wants to see if your skill set matches, what we're trying to get in our recruitment. Same thing with education. I think it's super important not just to put in the college that you graduated from and the degree that you got, but to give, excuse me, a really robust outline, especially because you're all writers, right? This is not just something that a recruiter or a potential interviewer is going to take a look at to learn a little bit about what you did, but they're also going to take a look at how you write. This is a writing sample in and of its own. Yeah, it's going to be a style guide for what you do. And so this was a good deep dive into what I do, but it's also kind of a truth check, right? So in an interview, I can go ahead and refer back to something like this. I worked with a software program called DocuScope to analyze a vast corpus of text. That's a good interview question for me. Tell me about this DocuScope thing you worked on. Can I speak to it? Did I even mention it in an interview? What is the truth and juice about DocuScope? And truthfully, I love talking about DocuScope because I helped to design the program. I did more than that, and I do continue to apply these methods in the work that I do. Being able to fill this out here, I talk about men and women's language choice. Down here, again, I talk about the intersection of women in power, how women, view themselves in power. Anybody in an interview situation could be like, wow, okay, this dates all the way back to 2007, 2008. She has a long arc trajectory of being interested in the same thing. And they could say, like, this is cool. How might this benefit our business? What might you bring to the table? And as you can see, even Chantal, when she was giving the little intro, it was like, I do lead the Women in AI BRG in my workplace. So even though it doesn't have anything at all to do with my day-to-day work tasks, I mean, I work on data analytics and technical documentation. My 9 to 5 has nothing to do with women in power, but I was tapped then to lead a really important business resource group at my company. So I bring something to the table that would have otherwise kind of been hidden in the algorithm of like my day-to-day skills. So this is a neat thing to show. So I, again, go to a friend, go to a mentor, parent, whatever, and be like, hey, how can I really, in a very short space, talk about what it was that I did and bring in what's really valuable? Because of course, as an undergrad, you're going to take everything from physics to math to, history, a language. You want to pull out the things that are really important. I took an African-American women's lit class. That was an important thing I thought to highlight here, is that I have this sort of global experience and worldview. I didn't focus on African-American women's lit, but it did inform my worldview. And I think it's good for employers to see that, like, okay, she wasn't just a one-trick pony, Okay. Licenses and certifications. Dear tech writers, it might not seem important now, but this summer, after you've graduated, this summer between, junior and senior year, LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning, and I know it's free through your university. I can guarantee it. If you don't know that it is, it is. They've got LinkedIn Learning and you can get it. I'm sure of it. Go take those dinky little hour or 2 hour long certifications. I think I have like 30 of these. They are so portable. And some of them, where's the one down here? You can get, it might have fallen off the slide. But some of them give you like an actual, you pass the test kind of credential, like, which is cool because you can take like a little exam and it gives you like, oh yeah, you're bona fide. It's great. This one, sorry, this one is actually just like through my company, that you do a volunteer hour or whatever. It shows that you're a good person. Congratulations, right? But take these little skills and methodologies courses. and get the little badges that they have, because it shows that you're a lifelong learner, that you're curious about taking these LinkedIn courses. You can get certified in everything from Agile to Python to whatever. And trust me, employers will look at these. You can gain management skills, you can gain coding skills, all kinds of stuff that you can put in the bucket that are classes you could not take in college, but are things that you probably ought to know. Super valuable and totally free. So highly recommend. And then just start adding those. You got some time. You got, after finals are done, I know you're all going to be like, I don't want any more classes, but take a couple here and there. It can't hurt. And they're fully portable. So highly recommend. And then this one. Oh, this is where I was like, this is the experiences. Look, see, I passed the LinkedIn skill assessment, and this shows that not only did I, screw around and sit through a 2-hour, video while it was running, but then I took their little skill assessment so I can prove that I do have the skill, that I know what I'm talking about. And it's not a lot, but there are so many people in the technical field now, and there will be more and more and more as the years come by, who are hot on our tails, who are not actually getting a college degree, but who are taking lots of coding, who are passing certifications, who are getting their AWS license, who are getting their Google certification, who are amassing these skills. And I think we all know we're at a cusp right now where artificial intelligence modules can do a lot of things really well. So we need to stay ahead of that curve. And if we can prove that we are ahead of that curve by taking these skills assessments and saying, oh yeah, I know Agile foundations, I know the methodology, for how to do this. I didn't have to take an entire college degree, but I have not only the degree, but I also have the skills assessment. So I am one level above, right? I did all of the things. These are very valuable. And then add those to your profile, because you're not going to have a 20-page resume that you load into something. But a recruiter, an associate, even a manager, an HR person can go ahead and take a look at your LinkedIn resume very quickly and file through this and be like, oh, cool. You can lie on a resume, you can lie on a LinkedIn profile, but you can't lie with a LinkedIn skills assessment because you actually had to pass the test. It's a quick, easy, snip, snap. I took the little quiz and I passed. It's equivalent to a nice GPA. You also can't fake your GPA. It's why businesses will ask for your transcript. It's so you can't fib, right? You actually have the bona fides. So on your skills, go ahead and list every stinking skill you have, from typing to light bulb changing. All of it really helps. And last but not least, boys and girls, I'm going to admit mine is a little bit out of date here with 2021 because I've been resting easy in a nice job that I'm not planning to leave anytime soon. But as I looked and prepared for this talk, I was like, oh, I should probably ask a couple of friends for more recommendations. Reach out, not just to some professors, but reach out to a colleague. You've got some colleagues right now on this call, people who know you well, who are going to write you something along the lines of, Susan is an exceptional strategist and subject matter expert in knowledge management. She's amazing, right? You want somebody to write something like, I feel like any recommendation I write is going to fall short of conveying just how great it was to work with Susan. That's the recommendation you want. Nothing wishy-washy, nothing like, John is really okay. Sam is a fine writer. Ask the person who will email you first and say, is this okay? What else would you like me to talk about? Right? You want this person to say, she's extremely articulate, right? And get 2 or 3 of those and foreground them, because companies no longer ask for a letter of recommendation. They're just going to look here and be like, oh, who had what to say? And why is it so valuable? These are publicly visible. So David and Bear and Andrew didn't write this off in secret where nobody else was going to see it. They plastered it. Everybody can see it. So their reputation is attached to my reputation. It's not something they just submitted anonymously in an email. They put it out there for the whole world to see. So they're going to be careful about choosing their words, right? When I was teaching, I cautioned all of my students not to ask me for a recommendation unless they were sure they wanted to hear what I had to say. Yeah. So in this case, of course, I went to people that I knew they were going to say something glorious about me. And, I said, do you mind emailing me first so that, I could go ahead and say, oh yeah, I'd like to make sure, I know what you're going to say. I could maybe ask you to focus on a certain area or another. And that's how business gets done. Make sure you say, I really want to make sure that you talk about something that I'm really hardworking or that I'm articulate, and people will do that for you. Do not overlook the value of the LinkedIn recommendations. Those are really good. And then do the same for other people, because I didn't make it live so that I could click on this, but it's also important that, that you give some recommendations to people. And I don't recall whether people can see the ones that you've given, but I think they can, so that they know whether or not you're just sort of an asker and not also a giver. Okay, the next section, if you don't have a lot of publications, that's totally fine. You guys are young, but don't hesitate, to put in your publications there, right? I have a fuller list of this, but this was like on the editing part. So this was just, some more recent ones. I have to add a couple that are forthcoming. And as you grow more as writers, you'll have more to add to the list. My only caution here, of course, is if you write a very controversial op-ed, again, keep that out of there. If you, if you write something for Playboy, maybe don't put it on there, right? Pick and choose the things that you want to put there. For example, I write an almost daily essay for Substack. It is highly politically charged. I don't put it on here, right? Because do I really want every employer to know that, what my political persuasion is? Nope, party foul, don't want it there, right? But definitely do put on, and I also don't have all my honors and awards because they're not all relevant, right? The fact that I was like dog walking volunteer of the year, I don't know that that's important, right? And if my potential employer gets all the way down to my honors and awards and cares, whether or not I was the volunteer dog walker of the year, okay, great. I think maybe they don't care. Your languages, I think that's self-explanatory. Now we get to the fun part, the content, right? The content that you're putting out on LinkedIn. Do it. Don't just build your LinkedIn and let it sit there like a resume and hope that somebody's going to come by and see it. LinkedIn is your business Facebook. And I know I'm dating myself with Facebook. You guys don't even, it's your business TikTok. It's your business, whatever. I know only little old ladies are on Facebook. It's your social media. It's your business card that you want to keep it alive. You have to water it like a plant or it will do nothing for you. And again, the two people that I know actively on this call are Chantal and John, and they can testify that I'm very active on LinkedIn. People interact with me. They come, the reason that I'm invited on this call is because I have some content there. I let people know I am a talented and engaging content strategist. I do good work. I publish books, I publish articles, and I get it out there. I get job offers. I get speaking engagements. I get invited to conferences. I was just invited to speak at a conference in Shanghai. I did not submit a proposal. I just got a call that they said, hey, do you want to come and talk? We understand you're pretty good at what you do. And I was like, on my way. And it's largely because I do stuff like this. I just put up a post that goes, look, I am capable of doing cool stuff with generative AI and lots of people are doing it, but here you go. I created this to say like, hey, I've got this book in progress called, Talk Like a Girl. And I created a little video. I do these, like I said, every few days, I make a quick video about how to talk like a girl. And it's like a minute long. I guess this was 2 minutes long. It's a 2-minute long video talking about where did the idea for Talk Like a Girl come from. And I put it on TikTok as well, but my primary focus is I want people to understand where I'm going with Talk Like a Girl and what is the genesis. Even as a tech writer, you have content. It doesn't have to be video. I post some memes. I think I did one the other day that was about kicking the apology habit, and it was just an AI generated photo of a woman kicking a ball that said apology or I'm sorry or something, right? Think creatively about the ways to maximize your LinkedIn, because otherwise all it is the green circle that says open to work and an announcement that says, yay, I got a job. I advise against, because when you move from the I've got a job to open to work, nobody has seen you in the meantime. Nobody knows your accomplishments. Nobody knows your affiliations. Who the hell are you, right? What, I don't see you do anything for 3 years, then all of a sudden you're coming to me for a job? Why? Why should I help you? I don't know you, right? But if you've done a lot of these things in the meantime, they're like, oh yeah, that's the Talk Like a Girl lady. Or, okay, that's the person who's been publishing things, or that's the person who used to work for Medidata, or that's the data scientist, that's the technical writer. I know who that is. Sure, I'll step in and help. Yeah. I know that we're at 6:40 and I intended to leave at least 15 or 20 minutes for questions. I'm gonna give you guys, I already shared these slides with Chantal, so she's got them. I'm gonna give you guys a minute to grab that QR code, which takes you directly to my LinkedIn page so that you can connect with me on LinkedIn, because that's how this gets done. And then I'm gonna stop sharing so that you can, see my face and we can chat, and I will open it up to whatever questions you have. My only ask would be, if you do want to talk to me and ask a question, maybe turn on your camera for a second or let me know who you are so that I can answer it a little bit better. So I'm going to assume that you all had a chance to snap that QR code, and if not, you'll have it in the slides that we share. Sound good?
Sounds good. I'll go ahead and stop the recording so we can do the questions. So those of you
Awesome.
watching, thank you for joining us.
Great. I'm going to stop share now.